come in here and say something real quick. Perfectionism be having us do the most. Doing way more than is necessary, often way more than what's required, way more than what's been asked of us. And I just caught myself in the middle of that pattern, right? So I was like, let me come out myself. Let me come talk about myself. Right. So I am in the middle of doing a project right now. I'm working with a writing mentor who I love very dearly. And it's time for me to present something, some work to him. I have to give him his things. And this is like a passion project. So like my whole heart, my whole soul, my everything, I'm trying to pour out into this project. And it's due. I set the tone. I set the date of when I want to get it to him, which is actually tonight. So I'm not going to be on here too long. But as I was sitting here, like setting up what it is that I need to send, I noticed that my brain was like adding extra steps. Like, this is the second draft for this project. So I'm working on it. And when I finished the second draft 2 days ago. I could have sent it to him 2 days ago, but my mind was like, wait, no, we can like do this like cool draft where we're like adding draft 1 and notes from draft 1, and we can put it into draft 2. And then, oh, you're like creating like this secret third thing. And I just noticed that I was like overwhelming myself. And how many can attest to that pattern, right? Knowing that there are things that sometimes you're adding to your plate that nobody else wants. And so I was overwhelming myself. I was doing the most, right? And I just had a moment where I just was with myself and asked myself why, right? I was feeling like having these different experiences where like I've been feeling very drained, very sleepy, right? A little cranky too. And as the hours went by, I was like, oh, is it this deadline that I'm like dreading? Is there something about how I'm showing up in this project right now that my body is resisting? And so I had to be with my body and say, well, what is it? And that moment, that slowdown, being present with myself allowed me to really see like, girl, you're doing more than what's necessary. That's not what he asked for. So why are you doing that? What are you doing that for? And so I thought about like, oh my God, like this can sometimes be like the how perfectionism shows up, in that it wants to perform, right? It wants to put its best foot forward, which isn't a bad thing, by the way, right? And also, what is the seduction in overwhelming ourselves? Why do we have the tendency to do more than what's actually necessary? And what impact does that have on the body? What impact does that have on our capacity, right? On our creativity? You see, my body was saying, Jada, there's something here that's not in alignment. And I felt it, right? It was showing up, the symptoms of being cranky and being tired. It was just perfectionism. You know, I just wrote on Substack either last week or the week before about the insidiousness of perfectionism, where you think that you're not doing it. You think that I'm just doing my best, right? I'm just showing how passionate I am about this thing. And I just caught myself in the pattern again. And, you know, I think that sometimes catching ourselves in the act sometimes feels like we can turn it on ourselves as a way to like judge ourselves, be harsh with ourselves, and be frustrated, even disappointed, sad, you know, so many different feelings that we may have. But I actually love when I catch myself in the act. I actually love when I'm able to slow down, because that actually shows me my own progress, that I can slow down and ask myself, wait a minute, the body is not excited. The body is not in agreement with my actions right now. So that means that I'm out of alignment. That means that I'm not actually congruent with my own values right now. And so where is the gap? Where do I need to retrace my steps and go backward? And so the moment in this example, when I realized that the work that I need to turn into my mentor tonight was actually completed 2 days ago, but my perfectionist mind wanted to really gussy it up and make it harder for myself. Oh, the relief that I felt immediately, my body, it was like I felt like a release. I felt like my shoulders could drop away from my ears. I felt like my spine could straighten up, right? And then I just kind of laughed at myself and I said, wow, I was my own, I was standing in my own way, right? So perfectionism really does have us doing the most sometimes. It really has us going further than we need to go, further than we've asked. And often it has an intention, right? Like, what is the intention for going too far, right? Is it for applause? Is it for praise? You want to impress somebody? Maybe you want to impress yourself. Maybe you want to prove something to yourself. And there's nothing inherently wrong with any of those. Not at all. But it's so good to be aware and to understand what is happening. And just check in. As my coach would say, what's your come from? If it is that you're wanting to go so far because you want me speaking of myself, I want my mentor to like what I've written, then that's something good to know about myself. That's something good to know. And I get to decide in that moment if I need it. If I need it. Because when you need something, right, it has a different urgency. There's different energy behind something that you need. And if approval is something that I need, then that might be a good time to check in. Hey, Magic, how are you? And so, yeah. I think that I appreciate the slowdown. I appreciate the progress that this points to. That sometimes when we're stressed out, when we're frustrated, when we are calling ourselves on the hamster wheel, right? Oftentimes we put ourselves on the hamster wheel. Oftentimes we put ourselves in that position. And the frustration that we feel in the body and the frustration that we just feel in life, right? We sometimes turn outward, right? I know that I've done it. Like, when it's like my baby is crying and she needs attention and it's like that was the last straw and now I'm just about to lose it. It has nothing to do with her. It has everything to do with how I've overwhelmed myself in other areas of my life by going too far. And so I'm just grateful when the body tells me the truth that my mind is not ready to receive or hasn't slowed down enough to even process. The body knows. So wherever you're listening to this message, if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, if you're feeling like pressure, right, to get things done, to turn things in, to be whatever, to show up for somebody, if you're feeling like pressure right now, I want you to just ask yourself truthfully, how am I doing this to myself? How am I doing this to myself? Where did I get out of alignment with my body and my values? Did I say yes when I really should have said no? Did I say no when I could have said yes? Did I over promise what I couldn't deliver on? And before we get into why we do a thing, right? Because I think a lot of us sometimes like, why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? And that's a good question to ask. It is good to understand the why. I also want to think about, how does this start in my life? That pattern. How do we get here? Slow it down. That's what I like to say with my clients all the time. I know there's a pattern that we want to change, that we want to change our relationship to, right? It's not just the why we do it, but how do we get there? Often retracing our steps and going back and determining how we get there points us right in the direction of why it's something that reoccurs. So, yeah. Perfectionism has us doing a whole lot more than what's necessary. And so, something I've been saying all year is go slow. Go slow. And just when you think that you've gone as slow as you can, go even slower. Slow it down even more. And so, that's my thought for you today. And now I am going to go and submit my already completed second draft that I finished 2 days ago, that I was making harder than it needed to be because I was trying to live up to a standard that my mentor didn't ask of me, that my ancestors didn't ask of me, but that I was complicating because I wanted to present a certain way. And one thing I'm learning about what my ancestors want from me, they don't really care about the way I present. They just care that I show up. And the whole point of a draft is just to get the thoughts out anyway. So, I hope this encourages you to slow down, be with your body, be with yourself, and lighten your load as much as you can. Be compassionate with yourself. See you soon.